and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for a new episode of Anewgo of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrisanthon, and joining me today, my original co-host, John Lee, CEO of Anewgo. Welcome, John.
Hey guys, I thought I was done for the year, but with so many changes in AI in the last few weeks, had to come back here and give you an update.
Exactly right. It seems like AI is moving at the speed of light, and every day we're learning something new, including all of the trepidations happening over the weekend at OpenAI. So, lots of excitement and craziness going on. But yeah, we wanted to let you in on our conversations. A lot of our clients have been reaching out to us asking for guidance or information about AI because they know that it is an important topic and they want to stay up to date. Per usual, John's going to give me a little bit of a download. This is how I learn. I'm very lucky to be able to have access to John like that and just download the knowledge. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. So, where do you want to get things started, John?
Well, interestingly, I'm learning as you're all learning. Who would ever thought that over 48 hours, OpenAI would have three different CEOs, and the original CEO is now part of Microsoft. And just a week before, they had their OpenAI conference where he was on top of the world and he was introducing all these new revolutionary features with ChatGPT. And that's some of the stuff I want to talk about with their GPT store, because I think that could be a game changing, not just technology, but business model. And even Amazon just announced last week that they're going to start selling cars online. So they finally broke that whole dealership network and got the dealers to participate. And I always think of the automotive industry as a harbinger of what will happen in the new homes industry. With cars, you're buying warranties, you're taking out loans, you're paying for different options, you're transacting online. And if they're able to break through all that with dealership support, I think it sets a precedent for our industry. So I think there's a lot of exciting things. And one of the reasons people ask me, why do you talk about all this stuff so much? Well, one, I am admittedly a tech nerd, but the other side of it is because Anewgo is the tip of the spear in terms of creating the content. Every time there's a major marketing paradigm shift, and I've been through, I would say this is the third one. The first one being the print to digital websites and SEO and all that stuff, and the second one being from website desktops to mobile, and now going traditional SEO, you want to say, to AI. Each of those paradigm shifts requires major changes in content, the resolutions, the formats, where it's hosted, and interactivity, and all of these different elements that have to change. So it's incumbent upon us, for not just ourselves, but for our clients, to stay on top of all this stuff, to evaluate all these things so that we don't leave them behind. Because one thing that we're seeing with all these paradigm shifts, the time to adopt and transition is getting shorter and shorter. I would say from print to digital, there was about a 5 year gap to kind of transition to websites. I think from desktops to mobile, it was probably about 2 or 3 years as people are starting to adopt iPhones and iPads and things like that. I think this time around, given the money and all the big tech players are playing in this, that I think the adoption to AI, and it's already happening, is going to be in a 1 to 2 year timetable. But on the flip side of that, the preparation to enable your content, your processes, your systems to accommodate that is probably more overwhelming than anything else that we've ever done. So that's why I feel like I need to get on top of this and communicate this faster so you're not left behind. Because it's not just that the tide of AI will overwhelm you. The real threat is that the tide of AI goes back out without you and you're left on dry dock.
So, John, I think let's set the stage first because for some of our listeners, they may be less familiar with some of the changes or they may not have been following us on LinkedIn, which I would recommend if you're interested in this. Definitely follow Anewgo and John Lee specifically on LinkedIn because he does publish a lot of this information almost on a daily basis. So if you want to stay up to date, definitely a great place to do that. But let's set the stage for why is this quote unquote AI friendly content? What is that concept and why are we even talking about this? Like what's going to be different from what it is now?
Well, with AI friendly content, I mean, you're going to use a lot of terms like AI ready, like Amazon's going to try to teach 2 million people about AI. There's AI enabled. And I think all this stuff is really about at its core data, because the AI cannot function without the data. So that means that you have to get your data in order, because the data is now speaking to the machine instead of to humans. Humans may actually have their agents, their AI agents, and I'm using a lot of new terminology here, or their virtual assistants, as the intermediary or the surrogate shopper on behalf of them. I mean, the irony is a lot of people think that AI is not going to replace the humans. It doesn't have the human quality. But the irony is, over the last 25 years, Google actually has turned humans into bots. We have been taught to speak like babies in little parsed words like New Homes, Raleigh, North Carolina. Even our babies don't talk chopped up like that. So we've been actually speaking in robot speak so that the robot can understand us in index terms. Now we talk about AI friendly content. That content has now been trained. I'm going to try to use, I'm trying to avoid a lot of jargon here, has been pre-trained to understand the way we want to communicate and the way we want to natively communicate, because we don't only communicate through texting, we also communicate verbally, and we also communicate through visual. So it's multimodal, whatever mode of conversation you want. And that native language, in addition to those different ones that I've cited, could also be a foreign language. So what it's done is it's actually made the machine more human. So what happens with your content, you need to make that content, and they call this like vector data. It needs to have different facets of the context of the meaning of that content, both textual and visual, so that it can respond to the patterns that it has been taught in conversation. Sounds very nerdy, but in a simple way, the machines have learned to talk naturally, and we need to just go back to speaking naturally.
Yeah, and if you think about it, as you said about SEO, even if you have no information on your website, right, or minimal information on your website, I can give these three keywords to pay for SEO and bring traffic to my website, because I said, okay, a new construction, Wayne, Pennsylvania, 4 bedrooms are my 4 keywords. And so all of my traffic, whatever I'm willing to pay, Google and other search engines in the past would bring me this traffic, regardless of my website may not even contain any of these terms, right? It may have nothing to do with it in reality. But now SEO is going to be diminishing. One of the things is happening, obviously, just the privacy changes. We're moving into this cookieless world. So all of that is happening. At the same time, we see emergence of AI enabled search, meaning ChatGPT, Claude, Bard, all of those other systems where people are communicating through this machine, but like John said, they're communicating in human terms, right? We're not typing keywords to find a result. We are actually speaking in full sentences, just like you and I would speak to a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
And it responds in full sentences, it communicates. So that is what we're talking about, that the search is going towards this full on communication mode as opposed to keywords. Even Google is moving into that direction. Again, they've had some setbacks recently with their Gemini release, but it is all going in that direction. So it's not going to be just, okay, I type in 3 keywords and a bunch of websites come back and I have to go website by website to research that. Instead, AI is smart enough to look through all the websites, find the relevant content, bring it to me in an answer form.
Yes, the big difference in this latest marketing shift from the previous ones is it actually changed the fundamental process and intent of marketing. With traditional print marketing and even digital marketing, the whole intent was to attract an audience, kind of like what you're saying with SEO, to bring the audience to you and then direct them where to shop. Basically, then they have to go to that physical store or online store on their own and continue shopping. In the AI world, keyword is intelligence, is now the AI can do the shopping for you. So what you do with your agent, your virtual assistant, is you direct your virtual shopping assistant to go shop for the things that you want. And it will look across this vast universe of websites, different online sources to bring back the products and services that you're looking for while you're sleeping.
And AI does not watch late night infomercials, right?
Right.
It's not interested in pretty ads.
And
So what is it interested in?
yeah, so what's going to end up happening in that paradigm shift is even on Google or other search engines, the top of the fold, which basically shows up on the top of your screen when you first search, traditionally, and like it is today, is really the paid search, the things that people have bid to advertise their websites on there. And then usually secondary to that is what they call SERP, SERP, search engine results pages. And those are the most commonly asked questions, or they may have little snippets of your websites. And then at the very bottom is all the organic results. In the new paradigm, and Google's kind of stuck in a quandary because that's their business model is all the paid search, is they're introducing Gemini and the search generative experience. They're calling it SGE, which is kind of a hybrid. It gives you that traditional search, but it would generate that content like AI for that generative experience. But Bing and other search engines, which together only constitute about 10% of that market of search engines, don't have to displace themselves. They have nothing to lose. So they're going all in on AI. So they're bringing AI right to the top and in a conversation. So you don't even have to have all these links to all these places. So that becomes a new top of the above the fold and top of the funnel. And the one thing that also AI brings into this is it changes the business model from just advertising at the top of the funnel to direct you where to shop to now, because it's a virtual shopping assistant, it takes you potentially throughout the whole online shopping journey. So now they can monetize all along the way, not just at the top of advertising. They can monetize when you're at certain stages, when you come back and help you comparison shop. And then what will happen is they create new business models where the seller will pay for not just for advertising, they'll pay for leads because all the people that use AI have already been registered. They already have their profiles. They probably already have shopped in other places. So you kind of have a better picture of who they are. They have actually opted in on zero party data. They registered, and unlike first party data, is not just their contact information, but they have actually asked for concierge support and services. That's why they're using a virtual assistant, unlike SEO, which is all third party anonymous footprints. So that changes the whole business model. And then ultimately, the seller can actually pay ChatGPT or whoever to actually close the sale. So now they can actually make money on the sales transaction, similar to what Amazon does, similar to what Apple Store does. So I think it really could change the game. And the Chat GPT store, when that was revealed, really is a huge revenue differentiator. If you want me to explain that, I can. But
Yes, so let's do that. So first, I wanted to make a comment as you're
sure,
talking about emergence of all of these. Again, we mentioned Bard, Claude. I mean,
right.
there's gazillion all new
Poe.
ones every single day they're popping up. But I'd be curious to see how the traffic to Google has been affected because I bet you it dropped significantly since the emergence of AI because I know personally I spend a lot less time on Google. I rarely go to Google anymore. I'd rather search through one of the other options that I have. So I'm sure they're feeling it. And like you said, the other companies, they have nothing to lose. They're not tied to that traditional SEO. So they're going all in on AI. And as you guys know, there's a lot of money flowing into AI right now. So, John, yeah, I would love to give our listeners a little bit more of a background on the store because, again, this was a recent development, and I'm sure many people don't know about it yet. So explain it to us like you'd explain it to a fifth grader.
Okay, that's a tall order. I may have to call up AI to help me with that one. Uh, no, so what happened at the Open AI conference? They introduced the GPT store, which you can think of almost like an app store, which we're all familiar with Apple and Google Play Store. But the one interesting thing is, in the App Store, you really have to be a professional programmer to be able to develop the apps for that. But what they've done now is they've made it so that you can create your own GPT. They're calling it. And GPT is really just your AI assistant that you're going to create that has some expertise in the domain or the subject matter that you want you want to teach it or to represent you in a sense. So what happens is Joe Blow, like me, and even our VP of sales, our sales director of Sarah Williams, has actually created her GPT to help online sales consultants and sales and marketing people. I've been creating it for Sophie to be an expert on new homes industry and to help people shop new homes online. But it allows us to actually create our own AI. The interesting about this GPT store is that they will compensate these creators because they want that content, they want that engagement. They will compensate you to incentivize you. So there's actually a financial incentive there. But the big difference to me on the business side here is it actually introduces a business model to the big tech companies like Microsoft, and Amazon's got Anthropic, Google's going to have Anthropic as well, but they're also invested in Bard and all that. That for the first time, they will have a revenue source from consumers, not just from the sellers. So in the SEO industry, that's an $80 billion a year industry. With ChatGPT, the subscribers pay $20 per month, and they had so much interest the day after they introduced this GPT store, because not only did people want to create their own AI, but they also want to utilize other people's AI, that they the AI store basically shut down and still on a waiting list over a week later. So there's a huge demand, and if buyers are and shoppers or consumers are willing to spend $20 per person, and they have 100 million users, that's already $2 billion per month, or
That's
$24 billion
crazy.
per year. So you can see how now these search engine companies, they can monetize on both sides, still sell ads, but then also make money off the consumers. The
Mhm.
bigger opportunity for them is actually probably to disintermediate some of their client base, which are publishers, portals, things like that, because those companies have traditionally just been aggregators of data, but it's never been smart data. There's no AI in there, and they actually are hosted on these big tech companies, Amazon, Google, Microsoft's cloud servers, which runs the AI. So they've actually been hosting all that data all along. And now they add smarts to it. Why not go in and charge $50 per month to actually have your super smart app package that includes movies, videos, news feeds? They're already doing it. You know, you got YouTube, you got Amazon that has Prime Video, and they also host Netflix as well. But you know, Netflix doesn't have the smarts that Amazon does, and they have Google Feed, News Feed, Apple News Feed. I think it could be a huge disintermediation of a lot of traditional app services and media and
Yep.
publishing companies.
Yeah, so just to add a little bit more clarity. So when we talk about this GPT store, so you do have to have a paid subscription. There's a
Right.
premium, right? It's like $20 a
Right
month
now, you can only get on
if
the
you
black
sign up
market because
to get an
they
access.
they've already.
Well, yeah, right now you can't sign up because yeah, there's a waiting list.
Right.
But but to clarify on this, like personal AI, like what does it mean? I'll give you an example. Say I'm Tony Robbins,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm a motivational speaker. People that follow me, I mean, you guys all know who Tony Robbins is.
Right.
So I am going to create my own AI, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this AI thousands of hours of recordings of myself, right? I mean, you figure Tony Robbins has so much information out there that's public. So it's very easy for him to recreate this AI who essentially, if asked for advice, is going to probably give something very similar to what Tony Robbins would actually recommend. So now Tony Robbins can create his own AI. I now, as a consumer, can get this one-on-one access to my hero Tony Robbins,
Exactly.
right? So now I can have Tony Robbins guiding me every day in my life, from motivation to get a workout to motivation to send out the newsletter
Mm-hmm.
to whatever, and I can ask him for advice, and essentially you have a built-in friend, a built-in advisor. Think about, like, you can even probably recreate historical figures. I mean, you can have Hitler AI,
Well, let's not go
right?
there, but at least it's a smarter social influencer. Instead of one influencer that's giving a broadcast message, Tony Robbins is specifically talking to you at 2 o'clock in the morning when you have a idea that you want addressed.
Yeah, and you can walk through that idea with him, and he'll essentially troubleshoot, right?
Right.
Like just like he would. or whoever the smartest people are in this world. Think about smartest businessmen. Bezos, you could have
Right, right.
AI guiding you in your startup business on how to start the next Amazon. So that's what we're talking about. And a lot of celebrities are already starting to go down that path. Like I know Kendall Jenner, she was coming out with her own AI.
Hmm.
So now with GPT store, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of those pop up, and it'll just be interesting to see. I mean, it's hey, I could hang out with Kendall Jenner all day if I want to, right?
Yeah, so I
It's
think
really
that's a lot
crazy.
of opportunities for the average person to create a virtual version of themselves without going through expensive programming, and also be updated regularly with new content. That content can be fed to it through images, because it pictures with 1,000 words, so it can put something out there and it can read the context of that. You can upload PDFs and or type in instructions, behave this way, don't say naughty words and things like that. So you can kind of shape it to your style, your theme, because they can contribute to that. Everything from a pastor to the president, because you contribute that, you will pay in to have that venue. But at the same time, you're also a recipient and a consumer of that content, because you don't want to be left out. So I do think it could be a huge business model, and how that plays back into real estate is a very complex purchase. It's a very time consuming purchase. It requires expertise. So to have that availability, and the other thing that they brought into the picture is that it has 300 pages worth of recall. So unlike Total Recall, the movie where you could be exterminated, this Total Recall is actually an assistant where you may come back to 2 months later and want to start where you left off, and it has that recall to continue that conversation and re-engage. And what I hope down the road, I mean, this really thinking down the road here, is buying a new home is probably a collaborative purchase as well, especially if you have like a wife, a co-buyer, or even a real estate agent. It would be nice, ideally for me, selfishly, so I don't have to go shopping with my wife for these new homes. We can have both our virtual agents co-buy together online. They can squabble between each other about, wait a minute, that's too expensive. Oh no, that's the perfect design. And they can work out all those kinks. And then when they've worked it out, along with the seller's AI to negotiate the deal between these agents, then you can bring us back into the picture. That way I can enjoy my kids on games, go on vacation, and let our agents do the work on behalf of us.
Yes, it's a brave new world, that's for sure. I'm just thinking about all the possibilities, even for content creators, right?
Yes.
Like the content creator economy has been growing. And so, what's going to happen now with this GPT store? And think about, I can't remember who is the author of that book, Never Split the Difference. I don't know
Okay,
if you have
remember.
ever read it. It's a book on negotiation, basically.
If I had
If he
AI,
could
I could
create
already figured it out, but I don't. So we have to
yeah, there
rely
you
on our
go.
human brain. Sorry.
Exactly. So, he can feed his book to this
Right.
GPT and create an AI of himself. So now, say, if I'm going to buy anything or negotiate any contract or do anything, I can just use his AI to say, okay, seller told me this, type it in or say it, right? And then he's going to give me an answer how to come back to that. Like next time you go to a dealership negotiation, like, woo,
Some people are already using it to argue
it's
their legal cases.
exactly. It's incredible. And I don't know if you saw John or not, but there's also been a new development with AI pin that was just released this past week. I want to say it's like $600 and it basically clips onto
Oh
your
yeah. Uh-huh.
clothing and then it
Hmm.
does yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, so it does a lot of things. It kind of replaces your phone. So instead of looking on your phone, you control it on your palm. Strap in is all I have to say. Strap in,
Well,
baby.
I'm kind of going where the hockey puck is going, kind of with Steve Jobs always says, and on the, like you alluded to at the very beginning, about how do we prepare our content. It was hard for me to explain that without kind of giving the context of this. So I've been anticipating from a content standpoint, not just the visualization content, but the data content, that at the end of the day, that's what it really recognizes. You can have the most beautiful website and have pop-up banners and all these things on there. It's cutting right to the chase. It's looking at the real data. So what we've done on the back end here is we've had AI internally already been training on CAD files. So every floor plan that we process automatically goes through our AI, which now has identified all the floor plan rooms and options. Now AI can read dimensions, and it could also read the elevation, the home styles, and all that. So in a sense, it's using visual and textual cues to now create a data library. That data library is now the fodder for the shopping assistant to now go and pull up, but it can also read the visuals as well. So not only are we preparing our data for the AI to now be able to mine, refine, and then maybe even to generate new content. So like what would happen is it would read that floor plan and read, oh, this is visually read that this is the layout of the room, but also it has these features and these dimensions. Now be able to generate marketing descriptions that is personalized to that unique buyer, because like we always say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but the 1,000 words we don't want to hear as consumers. We only want to hear the 50 words that relate to you and the 50 words that relate to me. So what would happen with the AI taking that 1,000 words and images, it would now parlay that into a message that resonates specifically to your needs, because you have a dog and I don't, and wrap that house around that particular need. And then
Mhm.
using our cloud rendering engine, which we already use our AI to generate the color schemes and the floor plans and the site plan selections all on the fly instead of generic static content, the AI is now serving that. So what will happen is traditionally, like our competitors, they use artists that pre-generate static content. So it's like a billboard of what potentially you could have, but you're not going to actually order that one. It's just to attract the audience. Again, it's all about directing you to shop. The new process using AI and intelligence, and based on your shopping behavior and the data that you have allowed it to see and read, not only can the consumer design it themselves, but the AI can give them a starting point, which is what AI has really been very popular now. When you get writer's block, it jumpstarts you with a draft or something. Now you can go and edit it. So what we want to do with AI is say, hey, they have dogs and 3 kids and work from home. They probably like this type of house, and I think they'll probably like this color. Throw it to you first, and then you can go change it from green to blue. And then as it learns from
Mhm.
people like you, now next time it may take a shade of blue. Well, the one part that could be very important for content creators is a lot of builders, they will just render one color scheme of that house. So they may say, well, okay, for this house, we're going to render it in blue. Well, what happens is the AI is so smart, too smart for its own good, that when it goes and looks at your content management system of your database and it only sees a blue rendering of that house, it will think that you only build a blue house. So when somebody says, actually, I want that house in green, or do you have one in red, or show me all home sites that have, you know, gray houses. If it only sees blue, it will say, sorry, we don't have red houses or blue house or green houses or gray houses. We only have blue houses. So you're actually fooling yourself because you're fooling the AI. What you could get away with, a human tolerance is, okay, I only see red, but I know it could be blue. I'll have to imagine in my head. The AI will only see red.
That is very, very big point because I mean you're either gonna block yourself
Yeah,
or
you're hurting yourself.
obviously if you have the content that is interactive that can be presented in 100 different ways, then it says yes, of course. There's the greenhouse, there's the gray house, there's the blue house because it knows it can render it.
Exactly. Every house, we have all the color swatches defined by body color, accent color, and trim color. So you may say, hey, I want a blue house, but I want it with brown trim. And we even have it by the paint libraries of all the major paint vendors. So if we want to introduce that, you want a Sherwin-Williams canary yellow, we can find that specific color if that's what you offer. And it also goes into your interiors as well. You want a quartz countertop, you want whatever. Seeing is believing, and believing, you should believe what you see.
Yeah, so going forward, it's going to be very important to show all the options pretty much, right? Even if you think about virtual tour inside the home, we just did a webinar last week with our virtual team and they presented some of the new options, like you're touring inside the house and you're able to change options on the fly. You can toggle and see what that looks like with a two-story living room versus closed off one story versus fireplace, stone fireplace. So the more options you're actually able to provide inside of that, the more it can recognize, yes, this house comes with a fireplace or it doesn't. It's just an option within this combination. And I'd be curious to see what crazy new designs AI is going to come up with, because if you guys follow John on LinkedIn, I'm sure you've seen a house that he posted. He asked AI to create a combination, a mix between farmhouse and craftsman style, and it came up with a pretty sweet design. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's incredible what's able to do, and I'm really curious about the future of even architecture and the types of homes we're going to see from this AI design.
Yeah, one of the things that we want to do is we want to create an area in our Anewgo marketplace called Playhouse. And what Playhouse is, whether you're 8 years old or 80 years old, you can kind of be like Barbie. Now you can just prompt or tell the AI, hey, I like modern houses, but I also like a craftsman style. Can you show me a blend of them? And we did that using Mid-Journey or Stable Fusion. I forget which one, or maybe it was DALL-E 3. We used so many different ones, and it actually created it. And then we said, actually, can you show it to me in the woods versus the beach? And when we said woods versus the beach, and it showed the beach version, instead of showing small windows, it showed walkout sliding glass doors. So it's actually changing the architecture to the environment using the same plan. And then I said, actually, can I see it in blue? And then it changed it. So I think it allows a lot of creative freedom out there. And imagine that while you're playing house, and you're registered obviously either through the AI or through our system, so we can now share your designs to the world through social media, and you can have followers and all that. It could really attract an audience. And then what happens is, as we see what you're designing and what features you're looking for, you may not be ready to buy when you're 8 years old, but maybe when you're 28, we have a good idea of what kind of style that you're looking for. I mean, you're actually also, if you're not buying it for yourself, you're helping the builders understand what the popular trends are.
Yeah, I think this is a huge opportunity because, as we know, again, same with Zillow, people go to Zillow mostly just because they want to look
Talk and
at
talk.
houses. They're not necessarily shopping
Yes.
for a new home. So, this takes it to a whole new level because you're not just looking at existing homes, you're essentially creating your dream home, your vision board. And I can't wait to start designing my dream home on that. And you can start even from very similar to what it looks like to your current home and then visualize, hey, I want to add this addition. I want to put a pool in the backyard. I want to, do this, do that. And you can see exactly what it's going to look like as a final product. And the more you do it, the more you fall in love. And then, hey, this house actually happens to be available or something similar happens to be available by this builder. So then you're matched with the builder and it's, you start to think, hey, maybe I should move
Well,
into
you
this
kind of
house.
you
That's
kind of
my dream
reveal one
house.
of our little, I would say, strategies here, but because AI can incorporate or digest images. So if you took a picture of your house and say, look, I want to add a garage. Can you show me how it looked like? Or I want to change the landscaping. So you can take an existing image and modify it virtually without having to go to an architect, go through even an expensive rendering company. But a lot of it is, it starts the conversation that you can now send to your architect to actually engineer and design it correctly. But you get excited about it and it's only a click. And I was just doing the numbers today with ChatGPT. One image at 1800 by 2400 pixel, because they charge you by the size of the resolution, that is equal to
Hmm.
0.0007 cents. So it's, just to summarize it, you can do 1,000 images for a total of $7.65. I don't think I need 1,000 versions of it, but for us as a business, if we did 10,000 images, it's like $77. So I think it's at a price here that could be very affordable for you to learn and create and share. I think it's a whole new way to communicate. And I think for marketing, it may actually turn the equation around. The buyer takes a picture of the house they like, and then they roll it into our system, and then it pulls up the matching plans that match what they're looking for, as opposed to them looking through a huge infinite gallery, needles in the haystack, which there may not even be that needle in the haystack. And the good thing is, they actually physically don't have to even do it. The AI says, "Oh, this is the source image that you're looking for. Let me go into Anewgo or wherever and bring that to you. And let me tell you all the wonderful
Wow.
things about it. And let me tell you all the wonderful things about the builder. And let me tell you all the wonderful things about the community." And that's just wonderful.
Yes. So this is the biggest shift with AI shopping, as we talked about earlier. It becomes even more consumer centric, where the consumer stays put
Right.
essentially, and the products and services are brought to them, as opposed to consumer going, searching for it, website by website, trying to find it. In other words, it's like I can imagine it in my head and I can create it in with collaboration with my AI, and then that product is essentially matched and brought to me, and I'm able to make that purchase, which is
Yes, and
crazy.
one of the things that we've already done with our Nugo marketplace, which is kind of our testing ground for AI because it's our own domain, because we understand that most new home purchases have a co-buyer, except for some of the young people that are buying some of these very small homes. But generally, if you have a co-buyer, we've actually now allowed you to invite and associate yourselves with the co-buyer. So, and then within that, they can have instant messages in the private conversation. So I can be sitting in the living room, my wife can be sitting in the couch, and we can be talking about our house without us having to physically sit down next to each other. Or I could be at work.
God
Yes, I mean, but that's how we
forbid.
shop now. A lot of times she's like, "Hey, I saw this on Costco. What are you thinking?" I'm still watching the movie. I was like, "Oh, okay." And then we never even enter the room. But we want to do that in a
Right.
ongoing process with new home shopping. But now, if we can interject AI into the conversation, so now we have a referee or an expert that says, "Actually, that's going to cost you this much more, or it's not as good as this, or whatever." But the other thing is, now that we've actually created these two personas, the buyer and the co-buyer, if AI allows us to associate our agents along with that, that's where it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Our two agents can now collaboratively shop together with an AI advisor, and maybe a real estate agent on the other side, or salesperson agent.
Mhm.
I don't think it
Yep.
completes the funnel, but I think it moves us down the funnel. And then if the AI gets so smart down there, that's done so great with marketing and moving you down a curated concierge funnel, it's natural that it's going to do the checkout. That's what Amazon has already created. So what will happen is now you have a real direct to consumer e-commerce platform, but it kind of marries in a little bit of Facebook, where it's personalization at a massive scale online with influencers, which it's not just your AI influencer, it's your AI expert.
So it completes the whole cycle. And I can imagine that in the beginning, it's going to complete a lot of simple purchases, maybe purchases that need to be recurrent, like your
Right,
toothpaste,
right.
your
It's
whatever
time. It's time to get a
toiletries
new
that
toothbrush.
you
As my wife always tells me. Yes.
exactly, and maybe new toothbrush. But again, the I think the process for it's one thing to reorder what you have in stock
Right.
already, because it's kind of already possible with Amazon, right?
Right.
Like, but it's another thing for it to independently, quote unquote, make a decision on how's this toothbrush better than this toothbrush, where it doesn't read ads, it's not biased towards the ads, but it's able to take the information and figure out, okay, for John, this
Right.
toothbrush brand is going to be the best, and this is the one I'm going to
Well,
purchase.
because the one thing
Yeah.
that Amazon and Microsoft and Google know about you is that they know everything about you. So what happens is with the AI,
Right.
now that you subscribe to it, they don't have to worry about cookies. They don't have to worry about privacy because you've opted in. It's a service for you, just like I
Mhm.
do with Netflix. They know what I watch because it's a service for me. They want to recommend me. I don't want to look through everything. So what happens is, as it learns that you are buying dog food, well, you probably have a dog. I don't think your husband eats dog food, right? So,
Hey,
well,
we're
okay,
making
no offense,
assumptions, John.
but I'm saying because it knows about you, and now buying a car. is probably very indicative of the type of houses you will buy, both in price and style and status and utility. I think
Mhm.
with all that data, if Amazon offers to let them market their homes on there, they would choose that because it will, as much as Amazon may take a cut, what they will do is cut out costs, headaches, frustration, while creating the only thing they do create is a great customer experience. They don't create the content. That's why I
Well,
think it's going to be content and AI are going to be the winners of this whole thing.
well, and I think the timing is kind of perfect for it with a recent National Association of Realtors lawsuit that they have lost. And I mean, the lawsuit is now going nationwide, right? It's not going to be limited for those states. It's they filed a whole new lawsuit that's going to be encompassing the entire country. And so if you guys haven't been keeping track of what's going on with National Association of Realtors, is basically it was an antitrust
Right.
lawsuit, right? That they have conspired to keep commissions high for the sellers of the properties, and why should the sellers even pay buyers commissions? So now we're going to see some consequences of that. It's not very clear yet what's going to happen, but I think everybody's kind of predicting that direct to consumer is going to be more of a standard way to purchase even homes, right? If the realtor is now, okay, the buyer has to pay their own commission. Some may choose not to work with a realtor, some may choose to still work with a realtor, but the amount of commission may
Mhm.
change, may stay the same, who knows. But that direct to consumer option to purchase online, buy now, reserve now, I certainly think that there's going to be spike in the popularity of those types of services because it just makes sense. And so, of course, the Amazon example, I mean, I think, John, when we had started recording our podcast, I want to say on the first couple of episodes, you talked about Amazon and selling homes on Amazon. And I mean, it's crazy to me that every time we talk, all of this comes to fruition. It's wild to even think where we are now with what you have said a few years ago, and this is all happening, and it's happening so much faster than I think even you had
Exactly. You
imagined.
know,
So it's
the biggest
bananas.
obstacle are drag on big tech innovations and maybe even a superhuman AI. The kryptonite to super AI is really protectionist laws, and that was what stymied
Mhm.
Uber. That's even what stymied Amazon at the very beginning about sales tax and stuff like that. That's what stymied dealers selling online. Tesla is starting to break through that. Now Amazon has kind of really broken through that
Right.
because they're giving dealers something back, which is
Mhm.
intelligence and easier selling online. And they had to compete against Tesla too. But the other part now with the housing side, like you're talking about with the lawsuits now, breaking down those real estate agent protectionist barriers, if consumers saying, hey, if I can do it myself instead of me paying for a buyer's agent now because the cost of the home is so high, but I have the expertise of an AI and maybe even the collaborative help of co-buyers and stuff that I can bring into the conversation, and all the laws are falling down, then yeah, it's a wide open runway. But it's going to require to change your current processes and even mindset to accomplish it.
As we're wrapping up this conversation, why don't we talk about some of those things? So, we obviously mentioned AI ready content, but so what we're talking about AI ready content is interactive
Mm-hmm.
content, right? Because if you have interactive content, again, as John mentioned, an example of a blue house, if you only have a blue house representation, AI can only see a blue house versus interactive content where you have hundreds of colors of that house. And so it's able to bring the result back to you that you asked for because it's interactive. And then interactive content, of course, drives data, right? It creates a ton of data because as consumers are interacting and you're saying, oh, Anya really likes purple house. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to show her purple homes, that in turn creates the data that you need. And so I think also as a home builders, we've kind of missed out, I think, on the data bandwagon. I mean, if you think about, every time you go to a grocery store, you swipe that savings membership card. And believe me, they're not asking you to swipe that savings membership card because they want to save you 25 cents on that milk. It's because they can then put it all together to track all of your purchases. And that data is very valuable. And they're probably selling that data.
Hmm.
And so think about all the data you're gathering from your consumers when they're shopping for a new home. How much data, what information they're giving you. And I'm not saying to sell it, but I'm saying even for yourself to use
Right.
it and now to utilize AI services, you must collect that data.
Yes, and one facet about data, a lot of people associate data with content. And in marketing, there's two main facets of marketing. There's content and there's channel. Now, one, we want to put that UPC code, barcode on your product, that data, so we can track it as it's moving around. But the other thing about data is if you if you silo it, if you lock it into a particular channel, you are putting blinders onto your consumers' behavior. And so traditionally in our industry is not only is the data dumb, static, generic, it has no DNA to it. So everything is
Mhm.
gray and gray house.jpg and it's mine. So we want to see what the true colors are. But on the channel side, if you've only been selling it or you only see it through the website channel and you don't see what they're doing in your sales kiosk, you don't see what's happening from the search engine side because now the search engine is saying, hey, I can actually tell you it's Anya, because now through AI, or you don't see it from the portal where they started searching in the marketplace, you can't address them and see the total picture of who they are, where they started from, where they're going, what stage they're at. Have you already asked these questions before? Are you irritating them? Are you getting them to make more excited because their engagement rate went up? Are you actually chased them off and your engagement went down? So the other part about data is not only for data to associate with your content, but to now free your data across channels and not just your own channel system, but also what a marketplace like Amazon can do, eventually Bing and Google, is what you're doing on other builders' websites. So that's where that AI not only can help you comparison shop, it helps you narrow down and it knows what the builders individually don't know, that you're looking elsewhere, but it also could help that builder and say, look, hint, hint, I'm your virtual seller's assistant. If you drop the price a little bit, or if you offer that cul-de-sac lot, because they're really hung up on a cul-de-sac, offer that and maybe you can get back into the game. So I think it's a great equalizer on both sides if you know how to harness that data and you open yourself up with some transparency.
So obviously here at Anewgo, we are working to make sure that our products are AI capable and AI ready. So currently we do offer a lot of visualization tools that are interactive, that are tagged for data. So specifically my home app, all of those products are interactive products. They will generate data, they will give you the insights, and you can use that eventually to enable your AI. But also, of course, we are working on a website that we're going to be releasing at some point in 2024, hopefully. And that is what John is talking about, breaking down silos, because the channels cannot be isolated, the data cannot be isolated. So you have to be able to see what the consumer is doing online, what the consumer is doing when they're coming into your sales center. And so all of that data is going to be combined, omni-channel, and that's what we're working on bringing for you in the next year.
I want to add one more thing to that because it's very
All
similar
right.
to what Amazon and Netflix have done. Is what we're introducing there to go across all those channels and not start over. Is we're introducing in our next version what we call single sign-on. So if you start off in the portal, or you start off in the sales center, or you start off on the website, wherever you start off, the next step you start where you left off. So that's one important piece. And the amazing thing about AI is I didn't think that AI was going to be built for us because last September, when we introduced the Anewgo Marketplace, I thought we had to go build our own AI. That's why we had our AI trained on our own data. so it can do match and notify, so it can do smart filters and find the house, the craftsman house with the stone brick and in blue with the outdoor kitchen and the Jack and Jill bath. I was teaching it. We were teaching all that stuff, and then if I just waited 2 or 3 more months, lo and behold, in November, ChatGPT comes out and 100 million users are using it. So, but it wasn't wasted in the sense what we've created for our own AI, because I thought I had to do it myself because nobody else was going to do it, has now been rescued by a cruise ship. My little dinghy now is getting towed along. And I'm so glad that we started 5, 6, 7 years ago, because we would not be in this position to even capitalize on that if we didn't do that.
Mhm. So, you guys, I hope you find these updates helpful. I know it is a lot of information. And again, I try to bring it down to the fifth grade level, John. I'm trying to reel him in. So as he talks, I know it can be a lot. But again, if you are into this, if you want to follow along, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn for both Anewgo as well as John Lee. He always posts information about AI as it relates to home building or else. And so that's where you can really stay up to date. And we're going to continue to bring you updates periodically as we feel necessary. This time we kind of did an impromptu recording because we felt that, oh my gosh, just what we recorded a month ago or less than a month ago, it's already been
Yes.
superseded and all these new developments are coming out. And so it's evolving, and we as we're learning here at Anewgo, we want to make sure that we're sharing that knowledge with our
And if
clients.
you listen this
And
long and you're in overtime, I want to reward you by giving you a hint that we are actually going to hold AI training class out in the spring. Probably try to keep it to a select 20 or so first people. So it's going to be a 2-day session with Anya and Sarah and Andrew and everybody else from our crew here on site in our 7,000 square foot headquarters. And we're going to try and make it very affordable, maybe a couple $100, including meals for 2 days. You pay your own way. And we hope you can help get your business going with the new AI technology.
so we want to keep it to our clients first so that you understand how our products are AI enabled and what we're doing with our products to set you on that path for being able to transact fully as AI develops further and further. But yeah, eventually I think we will open it to general public. But if you're our client, be on the lookout. We'll definitely keep you posted for the event coming up sometime in the spring. So we're excited for it. We're excited to bring more education around this topic to our industry. And again, we're in the same boat. We're all learning. We just happen to be lucky that John Lee had the right idea to start this a few years back. And again, it's amazing to me that all the things you talked about is here. We've arrived. It's insane. So, any last thoughts, John, as we wrap this
I think I
up?
covered a lot. You may have to hit rewind to understand some of that. So I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of A New Go of New Home Sales. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.